Hello, my name is Scott, and thanks for tuning into my channel, Low Altitude Flyer, where we take the same training principles I use to teach private and commercial pilots and applying them to learning motorcycle riding. Today we'll continue our detailed look at the principles of slow speed riding, adding exercise 5, the Serpentine, and exercise 6, U-turns, both from the Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice sessions. But we will also be adding a warm-up exercise since today we'll be introducing leaning the motorcycle. And since we'll be leaning the bike, we will take a detailed look into the science behind the relationship between the middle ear, your eyes, with your brain. I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to the channel. That does mean a lot. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us grow the channel. The slow speed techniques we're learning in this series are different than most, since it does not rely on speed or momentum for bike stability. It's a technique that allows the rider to control the bike and have it keep itself upright all the way from the time we lift the foot off the ground, through the ride, all the way till we put the foot back on the ground. Of course, you can use momentum to come to a stop. You wait for the bike to stop, put your feet down, catch the bike when it falls. That's how 90% of riders do it. That's how I did it riding dirt bikes. But this technique is different. It allows us to control the bike's stability and keep it upright on its own, all the way until we put the foot back on the ground. I'll put a link in the description to the prior 2 lessons that go into detail on these techniques. We also did an introduction video on this 2026 BMW F800 GS, along with the aftermarket items like the Chiggy screen, the crash bars, the skid plate, and the vario bags. The link to that video will also be in the description. Let's head into the classroom to talk about the science of head and body position, along with the exercises that we're going to go practice today. So let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the classroom. If you followed our previous lessons, we've talked about the differences between at speed and slow speed riding. We talked about the friction zone and then how to set up both the rider and the bike for when we're entering the slow speed environment. And then how stability at the slow speed comes from sufficient power to the rear wheel and not momentum. But today we're going to talk about leaning the bike when we turn. But there's a component to that that we need to talk about. And that's how your brain processes balance, motion, and orientation. And that starts with head position, body position, and where your eyes are looking. This is talked about in the Champ School courses, and in both of these books, Proficient Motorcycling and Total Control. They both talk about head and body and eye position quite a bit, mostly at speed, but definitely again at slow speed environment. And we've all heard our instructor say, keep your eyes up, keep your head up, look through the turn. Let's dive into what they're actually telling us to do. Let's start with something that we've all seen, and that's the motorcycle racer. Even though the motorcycle's leaned over and the rider is more dramatically leaned over, the rider's head remains upright. This is not style, this is neuroscience. The brain relies heavily on visual inputs from your eyes, balance input from your middle ear, and proprioception from muscles and joints. When the head stays level, the horizon remains stable in your vision. When your inner ear stays stable, the brain processes motion more accurately. Racers instinctively align their head with the horizon, not with the motorcycle. And for us, just cornering at speed, you always hear them say, look through the corner, or heads up, or look at the horizon. This is all for the same purpose. When you look out into the horizon, your eyes automatically level to the horizon. If you say, "Hey, look, look at that rock or look at that cone," your head will tilt and look down and look at something, right? But if you ever say, "Look out" or "Look at the horizon," your head and eyes are always going to level to the horizon. It's just a natural thing that we do. So that's what they're trying to say, is they're just trying to get our head and eyes to be level with the horizon. At slow speed, we apply a similar concept, but instead of leaning with the bike, we counterbalance. What's counterbalance? We let the bike lean. The rider stays more upright, perpendicular to the ground. The head and eyes stay level with the horizon. This keeps your balance system working correctly. Let's talk about the science behind the body position and what's actually happening inside your body. Your balance system is driven by three main inputs. First, your eyes. Your brain uses visual reference to determine orientation. The inner ear, which is called the vestibular system, that's basically your middle ear, has these canals filled with fluid, and they detect things like rotation and acceleration and directional changes. That's your middle ear. When your head position conflicts with what your eyes are saying, the brain receives mixed signals. Then there's the proprioception, and that's just that body awareness, right? That's your muscles and joints sending signals back to your brain, and that just tells you where your limbs are in space. Core body position sends conflicting signals. You'll tense up and your actions will be slowed. As a pilot ground school instructor, this concept is very familiar. Pilots are trained to specifically overcome something called spatial disorientation. When a pilot loses visual reference to the horizon, like flying into clouds, the inner ear can start sending mixed signals to the brain. The pilot will feel like they're flying level, but in reality, they're descending towards the ground. This can lead to something called the graveyard spiral, where the pilot unknowingly tightens a descending turn. Two well-known accidents that you've probably heard of. One, John F. Kennedy Jr. Just flying to a wedding on the East Coast, flew into inclement weather, flew into a cloud, got spatial disorientation, and crashed into the ocean. More recently, Kobe Bryant's helicopter accident. The helicopter's pilot last transmission to air traffic control was that he was going to climb above the fog. So he had flown into some fog. They were flying in the coast, near the coast here in Southern California. And he flew into the cloud and he tells ATC he's going to fly above the clouds. In reality, he was accelerating down towards the ground. These examples just remind us that even experienced pilots must rely on their training because the brain sensory system can be misleading. So what's actually happening? So when we're rolling an airplane, the inner ear tells your brain that you're rolling. It can feel that rolling action. If I'm sitting in the chair and I roll, I have other body senses that can tell the brain, other than my eyes, that we stopped rolling. Everything can tell. But when you're floating, you're flying an airplane, you're kind of floating out there. When you roll the airplane, you don't have anything else that is actually it's stopping. You're up there floating. So you roll the airplane. Your brain is waiting for the eyes to tell it when you stop the roll. If you lose reference to the horizon, your eyes never tell the brain that you stopped rolling, so it gets confused and starts making bad decisions. We have an instrument on the panel actually called the artificial horizon. Actually has blue sky, a line for the horizon, and then brown underneath it for the ground, right? Actually called the artificial horizon. When we fly into a cloud, we have to train ourselves to trust that instrument since we can no longer see outside. It's just replacing that same environment of what looks out the window, where you are now using a little instrument that's telling us that exact same information. Even as a private pilot where we're not even allowed to fly into clouds, we do 3 hours of training with a limiting device and to where we can only look at these gauges. And it's just to get our body and our mind around the idea of trusting this gauge and ignoring the signals we're getting from our brain and our inner ear. Sometimes when we're doing private pilot training, we do this exercise where the instructor will take the controls. They'll have the student pilot put their head down and look at their feet or whatever, just look at the ground, just no reference to the outside. And the instructor will take the controls and maneuver the plane. And they'll ask the student while they're not looking outside, what are we doing? And you will swear when you're that in that seat, oh, we're in a left-hand turn. And the instructor, okay, go ahead and open your eyes. And you open your eyes and you're just straight and level. You would swear because your body is telling you that you made this turn. Or you made this turn. So they'll do it again. They'll drop your head down again. They'll maneuver the plane, and you will swear that you're, say, in a right-hand climb, right? Because that's what your body's telling you. Oh yeah, I can feel it, and it's the weirdest thing. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. You open your eyes, and you're in the spiral, a down spiral. This happens in just seconds when you get that misinformation between your middle ear and then no reference to the horizon from your eyes. Now, of course, motorcycle riders, we don't have to worry about getting spatial disorientation. But what this lesson does prove is you just can't simply ignore how your brain interprets movement and false information. If your body position is sending conflicting information to your brain, your riding precision will decrease. So what's this mean for us riding a motorcycle? It means we have to have proper body position while we're in the slow speed environment. What's proper body position in a slow speed environment? It's head up to the horizon, eyes looking up and through the turn, the torso upright relative to the ground, perpendicular to the ground, and then allowing the bike to lean underneath you. When you align your body this way, your balance will improve, the steering becomes lighter, the transitions become smoother. When you see people struggling with slow speed turns or slow speed like a U-turn, you've watched the people practicing slow speed and they're trying to do a U-turn. You can usually see it's due to improper body position for slow speed and not counterbalancing. They're usually setting up similar to how they do at speed turns, and that's slightly inside, and then they start looking down. They're looking down at the cones, or they're looking down at the curb, or whatever they're trying to maneuver around, and they're here. And what that is doing, so if you lean your head with the bike and you're looking down, you're not looking out. Of course, if you look out in the horizon, your head would level, right? But they're not doing that. Their head and they're tipped in, so they're tipping with the bike. Even though they're not tipping very far, they tip in with their bike. Their inner ear tells their brain, hey, you're falling. Okay. And then your eyes, now that they're looking down, they're not looking at the horizon, they're looking down, and your eyes see that ground coming up. And your eyes send a signal to your brain, hey, we're falling. And then they send signals out to your limbs, and your limbs tighten up. And you're trying to tell yourself, turn. Your instructor is yelling, lean, 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 turn the handlebars, turn the steering wheel, the handlebars, turn, and you just can't do it because you're frozen, right? And that's just because of these signals that you're sending to your brain. And then we'll see this happening over and over again. Every time they come in and try to do this practice, they're doing the same thing. And you're just fighting that. They just can't get their arms to turn. They just can't get their body to lean. But by having proper body position, you can quiet the brain, relax your arms, your hands, and your shoulders, making turning and leaning the bike easier. A great example of this slow speed body position is Robert Simmons from Be the Boss Your Motorcycle. I did talk to him and he gave me permission to use these images. So let's look at this body position. His head is level, his torso, his body is perpendicular to the ground, and he's just letting the bike lean. You can see how comfortable he is, and you can see how loose his arms are. You can see how relaxed he is. This body position is key for leaning the motorcycle and doing slow speed maneuvers. So we're going to be introducing 3 exercises today. 2 of them are from the Be the Boss Your Motorcycle, and that is going to be exercise 5, which is the Serpentine, so we'll talk about that. Exercise 6 is going to be U-turns, so we'll go over all of those. But we're going to add a warm-up exercise and 40-foot circle. So we have the cone set up 40-foot diameter. You can obviously just use whatever you're comfortable with for that initial circle. And then we'll have a cone in the middle, and we're just going to circle around. And we'll do this in both left turns and right-hand turns. So what we'll do is we will set the bike up. We're going to do the same way we set up all the time we enter slow speed. We're going to make sure we're in first gear. We're going to cover the rear brake. We're going to set the throttle to whatever you set your throttle for slow speed. So between 2,000 and 2,500 RPMs, you're going to set it and forget it. You're going to leave it there. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is get the clutch in the friction zone, and you're going to be in that 1 to 2 area of the friction zone. Eyes up and head up. And then we're going to control the speed with the rear brake. So we'll be all set up. This is outside the circle. We're going to get all set up. And anytime you're going to lean the motorcycle, and we're going to turn the motorcycle by leaning the bike, we need a little bit more speed than we did, say, in exercise 4, where we were going 1 or 2 or 3 miles an hour. If you're going to lean the bike in a turn, you want to be between that 6 and 10 mile an hour range. So we're going to set up for that. So we will be set up in between 6 and 10 miles an hour. We're controlling that speed with the brake, and we're going to enter that 40-foot circle. We're going to enter it, and we'll just do the nice wide turn to start with, and then we'll just gradually start leaning the bike. And we're leaning the bike only, not our head, not our torso. Our body will stay perpendicular to the ground. Our head will stay level. Our eyes will stay level with the horizon. We're going to just let the bike lean. We're going to control the radius of our turn with the lean of the bike. Our speed is going to stay the same. Therefore, our brake control will stay the same, and our accelerator, our throttle will stay the same, our clutch position will stay the same. All that will stay the same. We are changing the radius by turning the handlebar and increasing the lean of the bike. We're just going to continue doing that. We're just going to continue leaning and leaning and leaning until we get that circle as tight as we can get it. On mine, I have it marked on the ground. I have an 18-foot circle marked on the ground so I can kind of see where that's at. We'll try to get to full lock and doing about that, 7, 8, 9 miles an hour in a full lock, and just do the tightest turn as we can. Then after we do that, we'll exit. We'll get the bike all set up again, and we'll come in the opposite direction and just do the same process. Just do a nice wide 40-foot turn to start with, and then just increase it, keeping the body level and letting the bike lean. The first thing we can do before we get into any of the exercises, if you are struggling with leaning the motorcycle and you're feeling like your body's getting tensed up when you're trying to lean, and maybe you don't have the proper body position, there's a quick thing we can do, but without any cones, without anything, it's just riding in the parking lot or riding anywhere you can, is just get on the bike, set the bike up just like you'd normally set up to set up for a slow speed environment, right? You're going to cover the rear brake, you make sure you're in first gear, cover the rear brake, set the throttle, set the friction zone to 1 or 2, get our head and eyes up, and we're control the speed. We're going to lean the bike, so we want to be in that 6 to 10 miles an hour. So setups anywhere in there, we'll say 7 miles an hour. And then just no cones or anything, just riding straight. Just take the bike and lean it to the left, and then lean it to the right, and just go back and forth, keeping your body upright. Pretend you have a glass of water on your head, and you're trying to keep that glass of water on your head and just lean the bike back and forth. A couple of things will become apparent. One, leaning the bike is really simple. Your arms will be really relaxed, and it's how easy it is to lean the bike back and forth when you stay upright. That's the first thing that you'll notice. So after you get comfortable leaning the bike back and forth, then we can go on to the warm-up exercise inside that 40-foot circle. Then the next exercise is called the Serpentine. In the pilot world, we call them S-turns. a similar type of situation. So we're going to set up cones 15 foot apart, and you can put up one cone in the middle if you want to start with. Um, Robert puts up 3 cones. I put up 3 cones, a little bit bigger cone, and then I put them about 4 feet apart from each other, the 2 cones on the outside, and I set those up every 15 feet. I set up 7 of them. And the idea here is to serpentine through the cones. It is not a slalom. We're not intending to do this through the cones. We want to intentionally drop the bike in, and the key to this exercise is that transition from a left-hand turn to a right-hand turn to a left-hand turn. That's the purpose of this exercise. It's not the slalom. We've already done slow speed riding where we've stayed upright and we can make turns. We've already done that in exercise 4. Exercise 5 is now introducing lean and introducing dropping the bike in, and then that transition of changing the direction, all while looking out and keeping the head and body level to the ground and letting the bike lean, drop it in, do the transition, dropping it in with the body and head level. You're going to do this in both directions. If you set up 7 cones, if you start on the left-hand side on the first one, so the first one, I'm sorry, you start on the right-hand side, and if your first turn is a left-hand turn, when you go through the 7, come around the other side, you will be on the right-hand side, and you can do the same thing starting with the right. Not that it makes a big difference on whether you start on the left or right, but just nice to be able to start it off with a left-hand turn, and then next time start it off with a right-hand turn. Remember, the key to exercise 5 is throttle control, clutch control, head position, body position, and that transition from left to right to left to right. And just do nice wide turns. Remember, it's not a slalom. We're trying to work on that transition and do nice wide turns. The next exercise 6 is going to be U-turns. We're going to do it 3 different stages. The first stage, we're going to ride through completely, and we'll just again we have a box set up 27 feet wide. It's about 40 feet long, and 27 feet wide. Outside the box, we're going to get set up. We're going to do the same setup. We're going to make sure we're in first gear. We're going to cover the rear brake. We're going to set the throttle to wherever you set it at. We're going to get the clutch engaged between a 1 and a 2. We're going to have our head up, our eyes level, head up, torso level. We're going to establish our speed. We're going to lean the bike for the corner. So we want to always make sure we're going between that 6 and 10 miles an hour. So we're going to set that up outside the square. We're going to say we'll set it up at, say, 7, 8 miles an hour. We're all set up and we enter. And the first time we do it, we're just going to ride straight through. We'll enter, and then when you get to the point where you're going to start your turn, you need to commit to that turn. You need, just like in exercise 5, you're going to let the bike drop, turn the wheel, have your head turned before you start. You're going to have the head turned and looking out, but commit to that turn. Commit to dropping the bike and turning, and we're just going to ride out. We'll do that a few times, and then eventually we'll come and we'll make a stop. Then we'll start the process from a start. So we'll start off in the box, build up the speed, 6 or 7 miles an hour, look through the turn, our head's level, our body's perpendicular to the ground. We'll lean the bike, and we want to commit to that turn right away. So we're going to lean the bike and turn the bike. We do that a few times. We get nice and comfortable with it. Now we're going to add another stop at the end. So we'll do a stop, a U-turn, and another stop. So that's the 3 exercises we're going to do today. So let's head out to the practice area and get them done. All right, well, we're out at the practice range in the parking lot, and I have the 40-foot diameter circle set up, 1 cone in the middle. And the goal here, I'll come in and I'll go around starting with the 40-foot and then slowly lean in until we get to the 18-foot. There is an 18-foot marked. I didn't put cones in, but I'll be able to see where the 18-foot line is. And then we'll go out and then enter back in and go the opposite direction. We'll do a few turns both ways. The goal to this, obviously, is to set up the bike. We'll get the throttle set to the 2500 RPMs. We'll get the clutch set to right around a 2. So we'll call this a two rear brake system. So we have the clutch set at 2, and then we'll control the speed with the brake. Since we're leaning now, we'll want the speed up around, between 7 and 10 miles an hour. So we'll establish that when we're outside the circle. We'll enter the circle with that speed. We'll keep it all set up, and then we will start doing the circle and get smaller and smaller and smaller. The goal here is to lean the bike, but not the rider. So I'm going to try to stand straight up, keep my head up, keep my body perpendicular to the ground, and continue leaning the bike, leaning the bike, leaning the bike. The speed will stay the same, the clutch will stay the same, and the throttle will stay the same. What's going to be the big difference is the lean. So we'll tighten the radius by the lean of the bike. So let's get started. So the goal here is to set up the bike. Right now I have the throttle set and I have the clutch set already. So we're doing about 9 miles an hour. So we'll enter right around that. And of course, when I'm in the circle, if I need to, if I feel the bike falling, I'll add clutch or release a little bit of brake. We'll go ahead and start with the left. So I'll come all the way out. We'll just do a nice circle. Got the speed up. So we're doing about 7 miles an hour. So we'll just continue to lean the bike in, lean the bike in, lean the bike in. Again, this is just a nice warm-up to what we're going to be doing. This is going to be the first time that we're actually leaning the bike. So we're just trying to get set up and just get a tighter circle, tighter circle. So there's my 18-foot there. The bars are actually locked. So I can lean it a little bit farther. But that's the left-hand turn. I'll go out and do the right hand. So again, we're just going to enter again the circle. Got the speed set, got the throttle set. We'll do the right hand. Again, we'll just do a nice wide 40-foot circle to start with. You can see the speed. I've got it set about 7 miles an hour again. The throttle is set, the clutch is set. We'll just continue leaning in, leaning in, leaning in. Just get a tighter and tighter circle. And I'll go ahead and go out and I'll come around and do a left hand again. And this is just a nice warm up to try to get used to leaning the bike. And now I'll try to concentrate a little bit more on my head position, so I'm not quite looking down. I'll try to look through a little bit better. So we have the throttle set. Speed again is around 7. Head up, head up, head up. Just make it narrower and narrower and narrower. I'm controlling the speed with the rear brake. And we'll just make a nice narrow. That's a little bit, pretty close to the 18-foot circle right there. The handlebars are locked. And leaning in. And we'll come back out and I'll do a right-hand turn. Enter in. Right hand. Just do a nice big 40-foot to start with. Have the speed set up. Then we'll just lean in more, more, and more. Definitely more comfortable going to the left than I am this right side, but there's my lean. Not quite locked yet, so keep going, do another circle. There we go. All right, so we have the cones all set up for the Serpentine. There's 90 feet of cones every 15 feet, so there's 7 sets. They're about 4 feet apart on the small cones, 15 foot apart on the big cones. And the goal here, so the Serpentine isn't set up to do like a slalom. What we're trying to do is actually drop the bike in. So we'll start on, say, the left-hand side, or the right-hand side. We'll make a left-hand turn. We'll try to drop the bike and then transition to the right turn and drop the bike and drop the bike, drop the bike. That's the goal here. It's not just a turn like this. It's to actually start practicing that transition of from going from left to right. So this would be in the future the same transition that we would use like in a figure 8. So that's the goal here. We'll make a couple passes and we'll see you in a few. So again here, the setup is have the throttle set just like always. So on this bike it's about 2,500, so we'll set that up. We'll have the clutch in around that 2. We can check to make sure we're not too much. I can do it right here. I can let go. I'm going to engage a little bit more. Okay, that seems pretty good. So what happens, when I release the brake, it's not lunging forward, so I know I'm not more than a 2. So that's good. We'll control the speed with the rear brake. And again, the idea here is to drop it in and drop it in and drop it in on each side. So got the set around 7. We're going to drop it in, drop it in, drop it in, drop it in. Again, trying to keep the head up and the eyes looking forward. A little issue with the throttle. We'll try that again. This time I'll go ahead and start on the right hand side, go in this direction. And again, we're gonna get it set up. And we're gonna drop it in, 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 and drop it in. I'll do a couple more passes. So we're finally starting to lean the bike and turn the bike, something we haven't really done too much of. Okay, so the bike's all set up. So drop it in, 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 drop it in. There we go. Throttle control was much better that time. I'll go ahead, this time I'll start on the right. Not that it makes that much difference because you're going left to right, but just to change it up. So again, drop it in, 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 drop it in. Spin around, do it one more time. This time we'll start on the left. Again, the bike's all set up. I'm not touching the throttle, not touching the clutch. Really just have the foot on the brake, just not really having to do a whole lot. Just all set up. I did have to hit the brake there though. And come around. And we'll do one more and we'll go on to exercise 6, which will be U-turn. So again, This time I'll start on the right hand side. Again, I'm not touching the throttle, not touching the clutch. Diving these in, diving these in, diving these in, diving in. There we go. You might see that I do have the side bags on today. I did finish the manufacturing. I made these crash bars for the saddlebags. I didn't want to have them on. These are the variable bags. They're adjustable. So I made it so there's a pin here, and then these legs are adjustable like the variable bags are adjustable. So these, if you don't know, on the BMW, these bags will extend 2 inches on both sides, and then the top bag will also extend. So I had to make the crash bars extend out that 2 inches as well. So that's what the ends are here. So you just pull this tab, slide it out, put the pin in, and it's out to match the extended variable bag. So now that I have those done, I still need to take them off, and I'll clean them up and paint them. I just wanted to make sure the function was good. They're not 100% done, but at least they're functional, and I can start training with the cases on. So all right, so we have the cone set up here for our U-turn. I did set up the 18-foot mark. I don't think I'll be hitting the 18-foot today. Wishful thinking, I guess. So again, this is 27 feet wide, about 40 feet long, and we'll come in the first section, or the first time we come through, we'll just come right through, and we'll just make a nice left-hand turn. We'll do that a couple times, and then I'll come and make a stop and do a U-turn from a stop. We'll stop, go through, all the way through, do that a couple times, and then we'll, at the end, we'll set up and do a stop, do a U-turn and a stop, and maybe at the end I'll try a little drop and catch at the end. we'll see how things are going. So again, we're going to set up the bike just like we do for everything. So we're going to have the throttle set around 2,000, 2,500 RPMs on this BMW. We'll have the clutch set in a 2. Then we will control our speed with the rear brake. We are leaning, so we can get up to the speeds of 7 to 10 miles an hour, anything in that range. We don't want to use momentum to be what's propelling us through those. We want to be in that friction zone, in that friction braking as our turn. If we just gathered speed and use the momentum to do it, then the bike is actually controlling us. We're trying to be in control of the bike, and we'll maintain that 2 rear brake, so the clutch in stage 2 of the friction zone, controlling speed with the rear brake. And we'll get going. We'll do the full series of left, and then we'll do the full series of the right. Let's roll. So we'll come out here and we'll get set up. So again, we're going to have the throttle set, 2,500 RPM. Get the clutch set. There we go. We'll turn in. We're just doing a left-hand U-turn here. So we'll 90 in. We're doing about 6 miles an hour. Head up. Turn in. Let's go ahead and do another U-turn right here. The throttle set. The clutch is set. Commit to the turn. U-turn. We'll do one more straight through. We'll see if we can be a little more aggressive here. Shoot for that 18 foot. There we go. All right, so we'll get set up again, and then we'll do a stop. We'll get set up and we'll do a stop and then a U-turn and come straight through. So we'll come in, we'll try to do a nice smooth stop. So in the friction zone, brake. That worked out. Okay, so we're just gonna go quick two rear brake, try to get the speed up to around that 7 miles an hour, and then we'll just do a nice U-turn and we'll exit the far box there. So we're not stopping on this one. So 2, lean, right down the middle. So I'll come around and we will get set up again. We'll do one more of these. Brake, 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 brake. All right, so again, just from a stop, we're gonna go 2 rear brake, get up, get the speed up to 6 or 7, do a U-turn and don't stop. So we're set. There's a 2. Drop it in. Alrighty. And I'll spin around and stop again, and we will do a stop to a stop. So brake, 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 brake. There we go, clutch in. Okay, so we are just gonna, we're stopped. We're gonna do a U-turn and stop on that other side in that, that little chute over there. So again, we got everything set up. We're covering the brake. We got the throttle set. Clutch right at the edge of the friction zone. And we'll go 2 rear brake and make a smooth stop on the other side. So 2. There we go. We'll do that one more time. All right, so 2 rear brake, and we'll go to that same chute and do another stop. So set up, 2, drive it in, head up, look through, smooth stop. There we go. Okay, I'll swing around. I'll go ahead and try a drop and catch, and we'll see. I tried it with an exercise 4. Of course, those are just slow speed turns with the bike straight up. This would be a lean. So I'll go towards the end of the open box over here. Brake, brake, brake. Just a little bit uphill right here. So I'm going to turn the wheel just a little bit, get the bike set up, and we will try a drop and catch to a U-turn. Nope. Come around and try that again. I mean, I just took off. I didn't actually drop. It didn't actually drop the bike. I just started. So we'll try it again. Nice smooth stop. Whoop. Nice smooth stop. So we'll turn the bike. We'll try the drop and catch one more time. Okay, turn the wheel, get the bike set up, head up. There we go. Okay, we'll set up and we'll do some right-hand turns. I'll just start off by just going straight through with a right-hand turn. or right-hand U-turn. So we have the bike set up, clutch is set. We'll turned in, head up. There we go. Again, bike's all set up. Head up, lean it in. All right, we'll spin around and we'll do a stop. There we go. I'm kind of right in the middle over here, but should have plenty of room. Probably about 23 feet or so to those cones, so I should be able to make that. So we're just going to do a stop. So we'll get the bike all set up, and we'll go to the clutch in stage 2. We'll get the bike going in a 2. We'll do a little bit of brake for speed control, and we'll try to commit to the turn right away once we get up to the top, and try to make this U-turn. And then we're just going to come straight through. We're not going to stop. So bike set up. There's 2. Commit to the turn. Head up. All right. Come around. Try another one. We'll do that again. So 2. Right hand turn. 2 rear brake. And we'll try to commit right away. 2. There we go. All right, we'll go around and we'll try a stop to a stop. So brake, 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 brake. So we'll come here. Now I'm stopped on this side. We'll just try that same exact thing, but we'll try to come to a stop before we get to the end of the chute on that side. So again, get the bike all set up. Get up in a 2. Commit. And brake, 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 brake. There we go. And I'll go ahead and just do another one from here. Back up a little bit. I'll do another one here and do a U-turn into that side over there. So get the bike set up. So 2. Commit to the U-turn. Come to a stop. All right, so we'll go ahead and I'll try throw and catch and try to do the U-turn within the box over there. So it looks like I probably have about 24 feet probably, so should be able to make that. So I'll turn the wheels that way a little bit, and I'm gonna, since I'm leaning to the left because my foot's down, I'm gonna push with my left foot, get the bike to come up and go past center, and so I'm throwing it to the right, and then we'll catch it with the clutch and continue the U-turn. So try head up, 2, and we'll try a stop. Not the greatest of stops. We'll come around, we'll try that again. We'll do one more of those. We'll do a quick debrief. So again, I'm stopped over here in the left-hand chute. We're going to do a right-hand U-turn. We're going to try a throw and catch and try to do a nice smooth stop on the other side. So turn the wheel a little bit that direction, a little bit of throttle. We'll do a throw and catch it on the other side. All right. All right, well, that was exercise 5 and exercise 6. So exercise 5 was the single serpentine. We added a warm-up exercise where we set up a 40-foot radius, got into the radius with the throttle set and the clutch set, controlled our speed with the brake, but we just maintained the same speed and just did more lean, more lean, more lean to get that radius as small as we could. We went around and did it again the opposite direction, so we left and right. That was just kind of a warm-up. Then we set up the cones for the serpentine. We did the serpentine again. That's trying to train that dropping it in to the left, dropping, doing that transition to the right. The key to that exercise is that transition from left to right. And then, of course, we're working on body position, keeping our body perpendicular to the ground and our head and eyes up. I think the first couple of passes, I had my head down. Second couple of passes, I started working on getting my eyes level with the ground, just like we talked about in the ground school. So that's very important when you start leaning the bike, okay? And then the U-turns, we did the same thing. We worked on body position, let the bike drop, and our body and our head staying upright, and our eyes level. That's critical. I see so many people, they're trying to do that turn and they're here instead of here. Okay? They're here like they're riding on the street in a regular corner. When they do that, their head is down, their eyes are seeing that asphalt coming up at them, and their inner ear is telling them that you're leaning, you're falling to the ground, and it just freezes them up and they can't get the bike to turn, and they just do a nice wide turn, and they do it over and over again, and they're just sitting right here. The brain has just got way too much noise when that's going on for that to be effective. So if you're struggling with these U-turns, concentrate on dropping the bike, letting the bike drop out of the way, keeping your body perpendicular to the ground, but most importantly, your eyes level to the horizon. Whether you're looking, beyond it, looking at a cone, looking at whatever you're looking, but just make sure you're looking out into the horizon to keep those eyes level. So again, thanks everyone for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Doesn't cost you anything, but it sure helps us out. We have had a lot of subscribers the last couple of weeks. This is my 4th week. I've had this bike for 4 weeks now, 4 weeks yesterday. So you're just watching me do the training on my own, and I'm just kind of working through everything. The next lesson we're going to go off of the Be the Boss exercises just for a second, and we're going to do some emergency braking. That'll be the next thing you do. Will be emergency braking and all the techniques involved in that, and then we'll go back and finish off the Be the Boss exercises. So again, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.